Okay, I'm going to try and fly from Macau to the old Kai Tak Hong Kong airport, flying the IGS to runway 13, the old Hong Kong curve, using the VHHX add-on. Climbing away, gear up. Flaps up. Yaw damper on. Autopilot on.
Going to 125.8 in flight to 1 Charlie Lima. Hong Kong Center at flight to 1 Charlie Lima is at 1,500 feet, climbing 3,000 feet.
N5 to 1 Charlie Lima, Hong Kong Center, continue as planned. Altimeter 30.24. N5 to 1 Charlie Lima, your tree 6 miles west. Maintain present heading and altitude. Expect vectors visual runway 19er approach.
So I'm going to turn off ATC for this. We'll say they gave us a heading to fly, and then we'll pick up the approach. So we have the 268 ADF in here, SL. No, it's not showing the SL identifier. And nav2 is 112.3 CH, which is the start of the approach. We'll be flying the 270 radial outbound from Charlie Hotel, starting at 8,000, and then we'll descend down until we cross the 180 radial off the NDB. We'll do a right turn direct to the NDB, and then passing the NDB, turn right to intercept the IGS inbound, which should bring us in offset from the runway right over the city, and then you do sort of a last minute turn for the runway. So I'm pretending ATC is giving us this 110 heading, and once we're south of Charlie Hotel, they'll clear us direct to hotel, clears for the approach. We have 112.3 dialed in, which is the frequency for the VOR that we fly the initial part of the approach off of. We have 111.9 in, which is the frequency for the IGS portion of the approach, and we have 0268 in for the ADF. So once we do our right turn toward the NDB, and we'll switch our navigation source to VOR1, and we will change our bearing pointer as well. So you can see right now the bearing pointer is set to ADF, so we'll change that to nav1. Okay, so they give us a left turn now to 090. So remember, this bearing pointer is the NDB. This is the bearing pointer for the VOR. When we're due south of the VOR, I'll go ahead and give myself the turn toward the VOR with the descent to 8,000 at that time as well. And you can see we're about to pass a beam of the NDB, which means the NDB is directly north of us here. So that will be the part of the approach that we will turn in past that NDB and then pick up that ILS, bring us into Hong Kong. So the VOR now is about 45 off to our left at about 6 miles. So there won't be that much room. So once we turn in, we'll want to intercept this 270 outbound. So we'll use nav mode for that. Just do the initial turn with heading mode. (521) Charlie Lima, left turn 350 direct Charlie Hotel. Cross Charlie Hotel at or above 8,000, cleared for the IGS, runway 13, Hong Kong. Roger, left turn 350 direct Charlie Hotel. Descend and maintain 8,000, cleared for the IGS. Go ahead and get our power back here. Set this down to 8,000. Do our vertical speed. Keep this turn coming. Go ahead and do nav mode now. So we're in VOR2 nav mode, so it should intercept that 270 outbound. So we're heading to 270, so if we lose that VOR in the cone of confusion, we'll be able to use heading to fly outbound until we're picking it back up. Okay, about 2.5 miles from Charlie Hotel. Picking up that 270. I'm going to go ahead and put in heading mode now because we're going to fly right over that VOR. Okay, you see we lost the VOR when we passed over it, so we're in that cone of confusion here. So I put it in heading mode. Okay, now we're picking it back up. Go back into nav mode. And we are now cleared down to 6,000 feet. We're looking for this ADF to pass through 180, at which point we will turn direct to the ADF. We're in nav mode now, so I'm going to go ahead and put this heading over here right on the ADF, so we'll be able to turn direct toward it. We know it's going to be north of us and a little bit more, so I'm just going to preset my heading over here. Once we start that turn toward the ADF, we're cleared down to 4,500 at the ADF, and then we'll intercept the glide slope of the IGS at 4,500. Supposed to be below 180 knots, so that's looking good. Put a little power as we level off here so we don't get too slow. Yeah, 10 more degrees to go. I expect it to be at about 7 DME. Well, Charlie Hotel, it looks like we are definitely going to be close to that. Okay, let's go heading mode. Let's go down to 4,500. Switch this to localizer 1. And set this to nav 1. So there you can see it's now pointing. Oops, I didn't want to do that. This still needs to be ADF, because I'm going directly to the ADF. So it's not until I pass the ADF. I want to switch that bearing pointer. Coming up on that 4,500 feet. I'm going to watch for the swing of this ADF. Tweaking the heading to the right because I got a little wind. There goes the ADF. So So we'll go to nav mode for localizer. Now we can switch this to bearing pointer 1. See that we're getting lined up. The glide slope is alive, so we'll go ahead and go into approach mode. Slow down and configure while we intercept. Localizer is already captured. I'm going to make it a little later in the evening just for a bit cooler look. Flaps approach. Get our gear down. Get some power in. Approaching the glide slope. Altimeter still good. Gear is down. Flaps are approach. And we're coming right now to get centered on the localizer. And just so you can kind of see where we are. You can see these are the curved lights that bring us in right over the city. There's a glide slope. Center up the heading bug. If we go missed approach, we're going to Tathong Point, which is 115.5. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in. Right here, 155. Transfer that in. TH, that checks. And we've got a bearing pointer to it. Yeah, looking good. Alright, on the glide slope. Okay, let's go flaps full. Just put my seat just a little here so we can see the approach lights. About 10 miles out from the antenna. The outer marker should be in about 1,700 feet or so. 1730. Picking up too much speed. Get that power back. Going a little above glide slope. Okay, let's keep this at in between R and X. Got some maneuvering speed since we do kind of have to turn pretty good when we get down close to the runway. It's got a fairly displaced threshold, so we'll be ready for that. We'll look to pick up the pappies as we're making this turn in. Glide slope's looking good. Aerodrome altitude is 15 feet, so essentially sea level. This ancient approach plate I have does not show the missed approach procedure, so I'm not sure what the altitude is. The holding pattern at the missed approach point is 4,500, so we'll leave 4,500 in for the altitude here. Starting to drift a little below glide slope now. And it's increasing our descent rate when in fact it should decrease our descent rate and get us back up on glide slope. Add a little power, see if that helps it climb back up there. Definitely don't want to get low coming in over the city. If I have to, I'm going to take over manually. KL identified. Okay, just a little lower than I want to be, so I'll turn off the autopilot. Get back up on glide slope here. There we go. That's pretty good. Stay on course. See, this approach brings you in on this interesting curve right through all these buildings. Off to your left here you can see the checkerboard, the famous checkerboard. Alright, slightly right of course on glide path. You can see the lights lighting up the checkerboard. That's very cool. Still slightly right of course. Come left a little more on glide path. There's a runway off to our right. Start to slow down for our speed. Okay, now we're picking up our visual cues. Since we're slightly steep, so we'll go ahead and let this drop down a bit. Okay, there's one red. Still slowing down. Okay, there's two red, two white. Reference speed. Landing is assured. Idle. We're in the touchdown zone. Rudder here. Some reversers in. I've noticed in the latest build that it takes a little back pressure or you'll start wheelbarrowing once you land. It's a little too much down trim apparently. There's 45 knots. Get on the brakes a bit. And we'll exit to the left. Wraps up. These floating lights are a known bug that they'll be fixing later. Hard to get up that little lip, so I'll help myself. Doesn't appear to have any collision here. So sensitive, slow. Flying Tiger 747. Static model. Pan Am over there. Hop up into a little more slow. And let's see, we've got another Pan Am. Other Flying Tigers, and right there Air France car, Concorde. Pretty cool. Loco Cola.